things that I've seen from BQool recently has been pretty exciting. I mean, there's so many different features that you've added. Definitely takes a seller's mindset to be able to come up with some of these different conditions and things that you've done. So excited for how it'll help new sellers and experienced sellers alike.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special guest on our show today. We have Jimmy Smith. He's an owner of 5 different businesses. He's a 7-figure Amazon seller with actual sales, and he's trained tens of thousands of students. He also has a best-selling book on Amazon, and he also has a podcast called the Biblical Business Leaders Podcast, and also a Facebook group with the same name. So we welcome Jimmy to our show today.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. So excited to be on here. I really appreciate it. We actually recently hit a pretty big milestone in our business too. We crossed $5 million in sales since we started. It's not per year. We still do over $1 million a year in sales, but a pretty cool milestone to hit. There's excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, that's huge. Like to be able to continue to grow your business while teaching the courses, while training other students as well and coaching them. So today we're going to jump in and do a quick overview of BQool. He's the expert here. He's done different walkthroughs from different software, and I'm just going to join and talk a little bit about BQool, and we're going to have a Firestone chat, and he can ask me questions, and I'm going to ask him questions. So there's going to be a lot of value today from our discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. There's so many different software programs out there for Amazon sellers, and I see good information, I see bad information. And the things that I've seen from BQool recently has been pretty exciting, to say the least. I mean, there's so many different features that you've added, and I've seen a lot of Replens sellers, Amazon sellers using it. So I'm excited to get in here and kind of just get that overview too, so that I can get some more information about it for the people that I train, and be able to show the Replens perspective on the software as well.
All right, well, let's dive right in. Jimmy, he's welcome to take control whenever he wants, and he can ask me more about some of the features. Yeah, so I'm going to do what you do, because you go through different tabs and you talk about the dashboard. So I'm going to start out with that as well. Just to show everyone, this is BQool's dashboard, and we have your AI sales here on the top. And then we also have a graph here as well. And then, the benefit of this is you're able to see which type of listings you have, whether you're using the rule base, or the AI powered, or our new conditional repricing listing, which I'm going to go a lot more in detail. You could actually compare the 3 by the number of orders you're getting, the buy box win percentage, and also, sales as well. This is our dashboard here. And then when you move down here, you also have the best selling units and also the best buy box wins. You can actually see all that right in our software. Jimmy, do you have any comment in this area?
Yeah, I did have a question. For best-selling units, is that based off of total sales volume or orders, or what is that specifically?
It's based on your sales. Yes,
okay.
Depending on your sales. And then the best buy box wins is the ones you have the highest buy box. Yeah. So if you want to know what products you should invest more into, you want to go out and replenish more of those products. And then
Perfect.
Moving down here, everyone can see is we have a listing overview. And what's unique about this is you could also see the listings that your competitor is selling below your min prices. Yeah. So Jimmy, I want to ask, from your experience, usually when that happens, what should a seller do, like for those type of listings, if the competitor is below your min?
Yeah, so it really varies. So for our perspective, since we do replens selling, so typical arbitrage selling, for anybody that doesn't know what that is, we are buying stuff from either retail stores or online stores at full price and selling them on Amazon, either typically in 2 or 3 packs or in bundles for more. And so with that type of selling, it's going to be a little bit different than maybe if you're doing wholesale competing against 2 or 3 other sellers. So if you're doing arbitrage, typically what I say is, if it's less than 30 days since you've sent it in, you should pretty much just leave it alone, just because there's so many price fluctuations that can happen. For us, we traditionally are going to, once it gets over 30 days old of inventory, then we're going to check on the Keepa chart to see kind of what the price fluctuations in history would look like. So if we look at a Keepa chart and it's showing us the old pricing has done this regularly and it should bounce back, then we'll leave it. But if we see that there's a bunch of new sellers that have jumped on and the price is starting to drop, then we get a lot more aggressive in our repricing.
Okay, that makes perfectly sense. Yeah, using the Keepa charts, looking at the historic prices and the number of offers and new sellers that are coming in. to make the best business decision for your listing. And what you could also see on here is we also have a tab called the listed listings. What are your thoughts about the listed listing? What should you do about them?
Yeah. So from delisted, can you explain that a little bit further for me, just so I can fully understand what you mean by that?
Sure.
So did you is it closed, or are they things that are just completely gone, or what?
Yeah. So for the listed listing, usually we'll pull into the listed listing from Amazon if there's a pricing error on Amazon. And then this way, that listing no longer is shown. So you need to go into Amazon. You got to fix the pricing error, and then you can reactivate the listing.
So if that has to deal with pricing errors, typically for us, we've got our own, standard operating procedure that we abide by. And we typically will go in and manually deal with those. Sometimes Amazon, accepts our changes to the pricing, but sometimes they don't. So is there a specific strategy, I guess? And I really don't know. Is there a specific strategy with BQool that will help with that kind of stuff?
Yes. For BQool, our recommended strategy is once the listing is in the listed listing tab, you would go into Amazon, into the pricing error, and then you must insert a min price and a max price inside Amazon. And then our strategy is to have our repricer, the price that you put for your min or max would be within what you've put into Amazon. And then once you have set it up, and then of course, usually what we've seen is the high pricing error. Yeah, so we actually have a competitor analysis tool in our BQool software, which will show you the top 20, and this pulls from Amazon. So if you see the competitor with the highest price on here, if you change your high price to that or close to that, then you're much less likely to be delisted. And also, you got to check the non-Amazon competitive price. Yeah, so that's our strategy to deal with the listed listing. Yeah, and we feel it's really important because if it's delisted, then you're not generating any revenue from that listing, and that's going to affect your business. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we have been pretty strict with our repricing and our mins and maxes, so that we actually don't get a ton of repricing errors. We typically have about 1,000 active SKUs, and maybe at one time we'll have 5 or 6 pricing errors. So we're pretty good at keeping up with them. The ones that we can't get rid of usually are because it's just, I don't know if there's something in the back end of the system, or if it's because Amazon wants it at an extremely low price. But that's really cool that this, that'll show that in here, so that you can do it all within the Repricer side of things.
Okay. For the next tab here is our listing tab. And what is unique about it is we have a profit calculator as well, where you put your ROIs, your estimated profit, estimated product for an individual listing. So you could do this through individual, like when you're setting your mins. For example, let's say I got a keyboard and a mouse, and I put it together as a package. And then I want to sell at least a 35% ROI. And then my product cost of that, with the keyboard, the mouse, maybe it's $15. So, I want to make at least a 35% profit. Then I could generate that here. My cost is $15. And then I'm looking to make a 35% ROI. This will help me calculate all my fees I got to pay. And then that's my price for my min price. Okay, for this listing, because this is a test account, so it has to be lower than your max price. So there's some safeguards. So it's $29.38 for the min, but I need to go change my max prices first. Yeah, because obviously your max price should be higher. Typically for the ROI, Jimmy, what do you set for the max prices? What do you suggest your students?
So yeah, that's where I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. So for max prices, typically wherever we send it in at, we are pretty good with Keepa. And so if the historical buy box price says $20, our max price is, I do $20. I add $4 to it, so that it'll have a decent max price, because we're usually pretty set on what we want our prices for. So we actually don't mess around with the ROI settings too much, because it can really throw off something. Like, let's say I have a maximum ROI of 200% for something. Well, if I get something for $1, well, then that's going to put my maximum at a $2 profit, when maybe I can make $5 or $6 on it. So I typically will set it up as whatever our current price is that we're sending it in at. Our maximum price is $4 higher, and our minimum price is $1 lower than that price, at least just to do an upload for hundreds.
My question is, do you have like an estimated amount of profit that you need to make from this product? Like
our average ROI is 70%.
Oh, wow.
Helps.
70%. Yeah. Okay. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay. You could definitely just change the max price right here, right away. Like, let's say we use the example of the keyboard and the mouse, and that's $15, and then our costs. But then if you look at the historic prices on Keepa, it's maybe $45. Then we could put it at $49 here. Mm-hmm. And then using, this analogy that you said, then we minus, for the min price, we set it, let's say, okay, maybe it was like $30 or something like that. Yeah. And then you set up the rule and then you press save. Then it starts repricing. Now you can also do that as well for bulk. I can search by ASIN, by SKU, or by title. This will pull up all the different camera case that I have in my listing. And then I can set them by bulk. I can select all of them, and I can set the min and max prices for them, or the rule. I can also, I can set the min and max. And then here I can put it based on, your price, fixed price, profit, different choices here. And I can set a specific rule as well. We work together with Inventory Lab. Yeah, we're fully integrated. We integrate the costs from them. And we're actually the only repricer that you could also upload the mins and max, which I'll show you in the upload. Yeah, and we're the first ones who did the integration with Inventory Lab. And we just did a webinar together as well. Yeah, so awesome. So this is in the general settings. The top part here, these are all the listings, the existing listings that has been synchronized into your account. The bottom part is the new listings that have just been downloaded from Amazon. Yeah, and we recommend people to check them, and you can check by the date created to see when they came in, and then to make sure the prices are correct, especially the min price. Do you have any questions about this part? Yeah, anything you want to see or?
Nothing in particular right now. I mean, it looks fairly straightforward. There are a lot of
very standard, fairly straightforward. Yeah.
I do like that you have so many different filters over there so that you can easily see whatever you want to see, if it is missing a cost or missing a rule or missing something, because a lot of repricers don't have that flexibility in that many filters. Yeah. So that's pretty nice.
And you could actually create your own filter too, as well. We allow you to create your own filter. And then, so there's competitor below min price. And these are the filters that are presets. And then these filters down here are variables. So one of the most useful filters that we talk to people about is, you go to the estimate profit and you could see which products that you're not earning money. And then from those listings, you can decide what you want to do, whether you want to raise your min prices. This helps you check to make sure that you're repricing correctly. That's a quick general overview of some of the general features, the repricing rules. Yeah, I know you have a lot of feedback about this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go to the repricing rule tab, and then when you add the new rule, when you come in on our interface, you're going to have AI powered, rule based, and also conditional repricing. Which one would you like me to quickly go through first? Because I can just tell you the difference between the three of them.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the difference between the three. So typically, just for anybody watching, typically I've done rule-based, and that's what I've always done for various reasons. But I know in talking to you further and in watching some of the other videos that you've done, there's a lot of power actually in true artificial intelligence versus what has typically been done, which is algorithmic. And so I'm interested in that. And then obviously the conditional is new, and I'm excited to see kind of the differences there too.
Okay. Well, let me just quickly go through here. And then, so for rule base, this is pretty standard. So the difference between these preset ones compared to the AI is the presets, it'll keep following the same rule. So it'll keep, like, for example, target the lowest price. It would keep targeting the FBA prices, the lowest, and then it'd go by a certain amount, and you can set to raise it. I know what I've seen a lot. What you do, you like to match the buy box. You don't want to, you don't want to sell at the low price. You want to sell at a suitable price, what the Keepa chart, something that's people are willing to pay for. The main difference here, I wanted to point out, so I'm just going to do a test. I'm going to just call it the Jimmy Smith rule, just for our audience here. For rule base, you can select who the competitors are. So If you're very experienced, if you know, then this is suitable because you get a lot more custom features. And what's unique about us, you could also exclude certain sellers. Let's say me and a bunch of my friends go out and we buy like 200 products and we don't want to compete with each other. So then we could exclude the seller that you want. So you're not competing with specific people you want to exclude. And then of course, there's more settings here. You could also exclude certain type of sellers, typically lower than 80%. Do you have any questions so far for the rule base? Because like, I think this is standard that you see in a lot of other repricers.
Yeah, it's very standard for us. We do reprice differently against Amazon, and we reprice differently than fulfilled by merchants. So that's how we have our custom rules set up. But typically, FBA, we will compete against the buy box on.
How do you set it?
We go 3% below Amazon if we ever compete. Now, typically, we aren't competing against Amazon. We usually avoid them, but we've seen for whatever reason, if it's 1 or 2% below, they'll match it. Sometimes if it's 3% below, they'll still match it. But once you get to 3%, if you only have a couple, they'll sometimes just let you have the buy box and sell out of it.
You could do for FBA. So you can select who to compete against and, using a percentage or also a price. Yeah. And then we also have a scheduler feature, I think. And this is what happens when you stay in the buy box. I know you can raise it or lower it or also match the prices. Yeah. So, we have these different adjustments, or you can also use the max price. So for us, this is pretty standard. And then we also have a price change safety net. If you don't want to go down by a certain percentage, like if you just want to, limit your price to go down by, how much. And then for the scheduler, you can set, different times. I know you talk a little bit about this when you're doing your overview. Why should people pause their repricing?
For me, it's something that's hard to really track to see if it actually helps. But to me, it makes sense to pause it and even reprice a lot of items up by just everything goes up by a penny or 5 pennies or 1% or whatever you want it to be. Because whenever you do that, if you do it between like 2 a.m. to 2:30 in the morning, everything reprices and it kind of just re-triggers the algorithm. In my experience, Amazon likes to see activity. And so if you just have constant activity on all your listings, that's helpful, but especially ones that might be stale, maybe something that hasn't been repriced for a few days because it's at its minimum or at its maximum. Just having that movement can sometimes help with the buy box a little bit.
If you have maybe less than 10, 11 competitors, this might work. And then you're trying to reset your pricing floor by manually adjusting the price. Your price, you add a cent or 2 cents, or you go to your max price and then you price down from that. As it works when there's maybe less than 10, 11 competitors, but if there's more than that, there's bound to be someone who's going to take the price who still has available stock. We had this rule base for maybe 8, 9 years, and we continue to add new features to it as well. Yeah. And then what's new is, let's say, the AI powered ones. And then the difference about this is maybe you have to go down by 3% against Amazon. Maybe against other FBA, you might need to go down by a penny. So the AI will take those things in consideration. For AI, we have 5 different AI rules, depending on your sales and also your profits. And the main difference, because AI gets thrown out around a lot. Like you hear, oh, this is an AI algorithmic rule. Like, well, what does that mean, right? Like the main difference against rule base. So for rule base, it's all these things that have been already set up. So it keeps on acting the same way. It's going to go up by a penny every time. It's going to go down by 3% every time when you're competing against Amazon, or maybe I'll match the buy box every time. For AI, there's a machine learning. It learns the whole Amazon ecosystem, like the way all the listings work there, and then it goes into an individual level for the ASIN. And then so there's a machine learning which optimizes the price. So we have 5 different AI rules, depending on whether you want to focus more on sales, or maybe if you want to do more profits. Let's say for the replens, got 10 competitors on there. There's not a huge amount of competitors. Maybe put on the AI equalizer to have an equal amount of sales and profits if you're using replens. But if you want to liquidate, you might use AI sales maximizer. Then that's going to put you closer to your min price. So If you use AI Profit Maximizer, then this is going to help you actually do incrementally reprice. There's a lot of experts. There's people like you, Jimmy, like you really know your listing well. You really know what works. But for a lot of people, they're new. The AI Sales Maximizer, there's a lot less steps. So you don't need to pick who your competitors are. You don't need to know what happens. Like once you get the buy box, you want to raise the price or lower the price, or how it behaves when you try to get the buy box. So that's for us. Like that's how we see it. Do you have any questions about this?
No, I don't have any questions. I love the ideas behind it. It's something that's newer for me, obviously. So part of it's going to be continuing to see the success of other people. Like I've seen, a lot of people start to use this and love this part of your program. So I'm excited about it. It's like I said, something that's newer to me. I think in the past I had done algorithmic repricing, not true AI, and that's where we had some issues. And I know I get this question a lot, and I never really know how to answer it just because of my experience in it. But I know a lot of people think that algorithmic repricing will kind of automatically reduce your price to the minimum price. I assume because of these different options that you have, if I were to do Profit Maximizer, that's going to be less likely to happen versus if I'm doing the Sales Maximizer, it's going to be more likely to happen. But any information on that issue?
Like when you pick the Profit Maximizer, the way that the AI work is going to lower by different amounts to help you get the buy box. But if you use the AI Sales Maximizer, it's going to go down to get the buy box as fast as it can because you're trying to emphasize on sales. But for Profit Maximizer, it's going to be more focused on profit. And typically you would put this on maybe high ticket items or maybe on items that maybe you don't have a lot of available stock. And so then it's going to go down slowly, incrementally, until it helps you get the buy box. Then once it gets the buy box, then that's the difference. Like for the AI Sales Maximizer, it'll keep you closer to the min price in an attempt to keep the buy box. But for AI Profit Maximizer, it's going to aggressively go and bring your price up. And then the difference, if you want to check whether they have true AI or it's the same, algorithmic rule, is you can check the amounts that it reprices by. If it's always the same amount, then it means that it's just following a set rule. But if it goes up by different amounts, so for example, the AI Profit Maximizer, depending on who the competitor is, like it might go up by 4 cents, it might go up by 6 cents, it might go up by $1 by different amounts. And that's because the AI has learned that ASIN. You can maximize your net profits when you're using AI because it would help you, depending on what you pick, it would help you to increase your price faster if that's what you want to do, or it'll help you get more sales. How do I avoid selling it too low? One is you can have a higher min price, right? That's a given, right? And the other is with a conditional repricer that now we just launched, you can now reprice according to the market conditions. For example, you have a product that sells out super fast, faster than you expected. You can now raise the price, or you can change it to a different rule.
Yeah, let's do a walkthrough on some of that because this is something that can save a lot of time and be a lot more accurate too than the current processes that we have, which is a little bit different for inventory age. But yeah, the liquidation side of things is kind of where we have an issue sometimes. So, something that maybe has been there a little too long, it'd be nice to have that switch over. So I'm excited to see this.
All right. For example, when the inventory age is greater than 90 days, right? Then you can either reset the rule, you can reset to different AI rules or rule base, up to you. And then you can set the rule. This is by the rules. You could also use the rule or by your min price. You can reset your min price and then break even. So just using the keyboard and the mouse, it was $15 and I put the ROI to 0%, then it's going to give me the ROI, including all the fees I have to pay Amazon. And then it's going to help me go to 0% break even. I could also change this by estimated profit. For example, maybe I need to make at least $3. Yeah, but now after 90 days, I might be willing to just make $2. I could also do that as well. So you could actually reset the min price. You could also change your price. So you could, go to your min price plus a certain amount. You can take the buy box price minus or plus a certain amount or a percentage as well. You could also go to the lowest price on the listing. So you could also go to your max price, fixed prices. We have 18 different conditions, and you could use it for both FBA and also for FBM. And this is designed by sellers. We interviewed a lot of sellers. They want to save time. Yeah, so there's 3 types of conditions. One is the inventory age. And then the inventory age related ones is, let's say, the estimated excess. Like, let's say you start getting long-term storage fees. Then you might need to put the ROI negative because you want to just quickly, those can all pile up if you have a large number of listings. You're probably paying 15 cents each if the long-term storage fees kick in. So these are all the inventory related conditions. And then you have the sales related conditions. And then for the sales related conditions, these are like the units sold, the units sold percentage. We recommend using the units sold. Then you can select 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. So let's say you got a replen product. Usually you sell like 5 of them per week, and you sell on a monthly basis, you sell 20 of them. Now, if it goes lower than what you expected, and you can do some settings. If it goes higher than that, then you can maybe raise your price, or maybe you can change it to a more profit-driven rule. And the last one here is regard your prices. So the buy box wins. It could be if the listing has been at the min price for a long time. And then also, let's say, the listings that do not win the buy box. So these are all like more pricing focus. Yeah. So those are like just a quick overview and of all the different conditions. It's like and then talking about the inventory, I'm just going to go back and just quickly show you in that specific case. You can select inventory conditions, and we'll call this the liquidation strategy. Is there something you recommend your students? Like, how much percentage should they go down by, or when should they start reducing their price or liquidating?
So it depends. There's a few different caveats. Typically, if I just had to pick a date, it'd be after 60 days. But we do have different rules that are a system that we have for our students that is 0 to 30 days and 30 to 60 days, depending on excess units that Amazon expects that will be excess. Then you can start to reprice a little bit more aggressively if Amazon or your repricer thinks that there's excess units. But once it's over 60 days old in Amazon's warehouse, then it's time to start getting rid of it.
Okay. So in this specific case, like, you can go to 61 and 90 days. And then if I have a more aggressive rule-based rule that I've set up, I can do that as well. Yeah. And then, so I'm going to, let's say, I'm just going to use AI because and I'm going to reset maybe my ROI. Maybe let's say it was 70%. Now I'm willing to part with it for 50%. And I can add another condition. Like, I can add, you talked about estimated excess units. And then let's say it's greater than like 2 units. Then I can set this up. So only when this condition happened, then it would reset my min price. I could also change this by my available quantity as well. So I can set this as, let's say I have quantities, larger than 10 units that I have, then this will trigger that rule. So you can do that depending on the inventory. And then so this is for inventory planning, and there's different liquidation strategies that you can use with it. Typically, we see people, once it passes 90 days, we see people going to lower their ROI even further. And then so you can just do that. And could you tell us what are replens that you always mention in your courses? And if you haven't seen Jimmy's course, definitely check it out. Go to the Proven Amazon course. He also has other courses, and he also offers one-on-one coaching. And this is from a guy who has real sales, $5 million the last few years. What's a replen?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked that all the time. A replen, the most simple way to think about it is it's something that you are able to replenish as a seller over and over again. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a buyer is going to be buying this one product all the time. It's just that you, though, as a seller, are going to be buying it and just selling it to different people. So like Oreos could be a replenishable product, but so could something like a fan remote control, right? So maybe I only buy one fan remote control, but Samuel buys a fan remote control and somebody else buys a fan remote control. But as a seller, I just sold 3 different ones, and I can do that, each week. We are buying things from retail stores or online stores, whether it's in person or online. So you can actually outsource this and use prep centers. You can use virtual assistants. You can do this all yourself. And the book that I wrote is called Side Hustle to Full-Time Income. And you can have it be a $20,000 a month thing, or you could have it be $100,000 a month. It's up to you. And so that's the beauty of the model, is you can really take a traditional arbitrage approach, but you can scale it much easier, because as these are replenishable for the seller, that means that you can start building multiple streams of income, right? Each ASIN that I get, each new SKU is essentially a new small stream of income that gets added into our business. There will be times when things fall off because they're no longer profitable and other sellers jump on, as is the case with arbitrage. But the point is you can still scale and build on that. So yeah, all of the information for any of the stuff that I've done is at my website at askjimmysmith.com. And or you can look up my book or any of that stuff. The Proven Amazon course, there's also a link there at my website too, if you'd like to look at that as well.
That's a very detailed explanation of what replens is. Do you usually need to go out and get a lot of stock, or you just get 1 month stock, one month of sales? Like when you're going out to source these replens, like what's the characteristic?
Yeah, if we're buying a new product, let's say we've never sold it before and it's new, we'll typically test depending on the Keepa chart, because we make all of our decisions based off Keepa. But depending on that chart, we'll typically test anywhere between 2 to 10. New sellers, I recommend testing between 2 to 6. And if if we have 6 units sell out in a week, well, then the next week we'll go and buy, 12 to 15. Because we know that, okay, it sold a lot, so we'll go buy more and sell more. Typically, we try to keep 30 days of inventory at one time. So our traditional turnover is 30 days. Whenever we look at Seller Central, that's really good for our IPI score too in Amazon. But there are those items that will go beyond 30 days to 60 or 90. Oddly enough, with the supply chain issues, that kind of makes it harder for us to keep in stock of different things right now, but that's a common problem between any business. So for us, though, it's traditionally 30 days is what we see.
I want to just show you, like for days of supply, now we've established what replens are. We know that you want to get about 30 days. You do a test buy as well. With Jimmy's system, you build up like Lego blocks. Yeah. And then this way, you're controlling the risk within a certain margin. You could select days of supply. These are 3 default ones that we have. For the IPI score, there's a sell-through rate condition as well. And typically, if you have higher volume inventory, and also on April 15th, recently, Amazon made some new announcement where if you have products that haven't sold in 6 months, they will actually automatically discharge the product unless you opt out. Mm-hmm. Units that have long-term storage fees after a year. So, the sell-through rate conditions, to prepare yourself for the Prime Day that's coming up soon. Like this is for the IPI score. So, if you're concerned with that, for the days of supply conditions, which is for typically you can use it for replens. If I only have between 1 and 30 days, then I can actually adjust it. I can make it to, AI profit maximizer, or I can change it to a profit focused rule-based rule that I've set up earlier. Typically, for days of supply, like for replens, we would recommend if it's not a seasonal product. So there's no big spikes. Yeah, because it takes in consideration to calculate the days of supply of the product that you still have left. We know a lot of people who want to have a little bit more control. They would actually use the advanced conditions here. My question to you, Jimmy, is what do you do if you have a replen and you're not winning the buy box and it's not selling?
We typically take a more manual approach, and that's where we'll go and check out the listing and see why. Sometimes it can be, a pricing issue. Maybe somebody's way cheaper. Maybe there's a seller that came on and they have 1,000 units or something ridiculous, and so Amazon isn't sharing it as nicely with us. Or sometimes it's just we evaluated the keep it chart wrong, or one of our shoppers or purchasers did anyway. And we just need to adjust it because of that. Traditionally, though, it comes down to having to lower the price to try to get the buy box, unfortunately. But that's part of it.
At the end of the day, sales is more important. So what you can do now with the conditional repricing is you can go and you can click on the listings that did not win the buy box. Mm-hmm. Let's say for 4 days. And the other condition is the listing that did not win the buy box is the unit sold, because that's the most important. So the unit sold. So let's say for the last 7 days, you have sold less than, let's say you sold 0. Okay, I'm doing extreme scenario. Let's say you usually sell 5 units per week, but now you've only sold 2. You might try to match the buy box price to see if you get more sales. Maybe you might need to make some minor adjustments. Like maybe you might need to use, buy box. Maybe you need to minus like 2 cents. And then you just repeat the process. So our goal here is trying to match the buy box price. It's not trying to lower your price. Yeah.
Right.
And then of course we have a or condition. When none of the above condition is met, you can set it to a still your default rule. So it could still be a rule-based rule that you have set up, or it could be a AI. Typically, we like to put AI equalizer, just so it's because this is a product that we know that usually sells for a certain price. So that's why we pick it like that. So for replens, my question to you, Jimmy, is usually what do you do if your replen sells out? Like it's going to sell out quickly. Like let's say you bought 30 of them for your month supply, but it's about to sell out. Like in that scenario, what do you usually do?
Yeah, well, if we can buy more, obviously that's what we try to do. For the most part, though, we just let them sell out. For us, we'd rather have the cash flow than to really raise up the price. But if we know for some reason, like we've had some things with the supply chain issues. This actually was a wholesale scenario, but they ran out of stock. And so once we knew that, we changed our repricer so that it would be a higher price, because we knew that as people sold out, we would be at a higher price for those specific products. It's a cash flow business. So we're trying to sell as much as we can without undercutting people in the buy box, unless, there's some reason like it's, 90 days old or something. We just sell out of the product and try to find more.
The goal is to get more turnover, right? Like that's, so you keep on turning the products. And that's why Amazon's a great business, because you don't have to put upfront like huge amounts of money to start.
Right.
And what you mentioned, this is what usually large sellers do. Like they go out and they purchase more of it if it's selling, and then they don't really change the rules too much, right? Like I understand that. Yeah. But we made this for large sellers like you, and also for small sellers as well. I've interviewed some large sellers and they said, it'd be nice if I could raise my price, but I don't have time to go into the system. Like I'm too busy. I'd rather, I'll ask my VA, or I'm going to source. I'm going to spend more time sourcing. I have other stuff I have to do. So what you could do is, let's say the available quantity, it's less than, maybe 5 units. And, the units sold the last 7 days is over. Usually maybe you get it's greater than 10, or maybe it's greater than 5. So, and that you might not be able to go out and get the product with the supply issues. Then in this specific case, you could go to your max price minus a certain amount or a certain percentage. You can put it like, if you could put it to an AI rule, which is focused on profits. You could reset the min price of your min higher. So let's say you had 70%. Now we do it at 100%. And then this way, it kind of slow down the sales while you go and replenish it. So you're still getting that you're still getting the turnover, but you know this product is going to sell based on the Keepa chart. You know that it's going to sell out. There's a big demand for it. And then you actually could raise the price, to slow it down a little bit. And then you just set up one time and you can just apply it to different ones. And of course, when none of the above conditions are met, again, you can use whichever rule that you usually use for that. So you can still use that rule. The main difference between the conditional repricing and rule-based and AI is, you're able to set up different scenarios like liquidation or inventory base and take advantage of the advanced automation, and you could change the rules. So you could change AI rules. You could also change rule-based rules. So if you have a rule that you usually set up to maximize your prices, this is going to save time because you have some more automations which you can set up. And you'll have less dead stock. 90 days, if you have a liquidation strategy in place, you're able to auto switch rules, and you're also to automatically change your prices for your min price, which can help you get more profits.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You set up
that's
correctly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Real quick question. Since
no problem.
There are so many different options. So anybody that's new to this, even for me, I might get into here and be a little bit overwhelmed. So how do you handle kind of the setup of all these different options? Is it just through a support ticket or something like that? Or do you have a different type of a setup structure?
The first way is you can watch the real life scenarios that we shared about in our launch that we just did on YouTube. So we have a step-by-step tutorial. We have an onboarding webinar every 2 weeks, and we'll teach you how to do the setup, and you could actually put your question in there. So we have some best practices based on what we've seen from large sellers, but it's not for everybody because everybody's business model is a little bit different. But usually they have a liquidation strategy in place. So after 90 days, then they start, maybe they might need to adjust the prices. And then there's a 3 replen rule that you could apply if you use Jimmy's model, which is more about matching the price, getting you higher prices for your product. Then you could apply those first. And then of course we also have live chat. Yeah. So you can, if you have some general questions, we have a live chat that is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the Pacific time zone. For more advanced questions, definitely send us a support ticket, at support@BQool.com. Tell us your scenario, and we'll help you figure it out. Yeah. So there's a lot of different support options that you can do. Awesome.
Yeah, I know that I get a lot of people that are brand new to Amazon, and so that's why they're trying to learn from the stuff that I teach. But this might be real overwhelming to somebody that is just starting on the platform for sure. So that's good to know that you have so many different options. And I know that you're active too on your YouTube channel. So the BQool channel is very helpful for sure.
Jimmy, do you have any other questions? And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
The only other question that came up at one point when we were going through it is with the dates of the items. I know that a lot of Replens sellers will sell grocery type products or things that expire. Maybe it's supplements or something like that. As things get in, if it's been over 60 days, or how do you track that?
Okay. We go by the ASIN. We pull the report from Amazon financial reports. Yeah. So it's directly linked to Amazon. It's based on that specific ASIN. So let's say you care about the storage, let's say the IPI score. So that's based on the sell-through rate for that specific ASIN, or maybe for the inventory, what you mentioned, like the perishable items. If you set the stock, let's say for 30 days, then in Amazon, when it's considered inventory, then that's when it starts counting. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say I have a tropical product I'm selling is going to expire over a certain time, or a grocery item, as you mentioned. Then you can set the inventory to how many days, and then you start repricing, and it's going to be based on the data that we receive from Amazon.
Okay. So perfect. So for that specific replenishment, right? So I just wanted to make sure, because I know I saw on the dashboard it said dates, but I believe that was the date whenever you first sent in the SKU. So if you've made, 5 different replenishments over a year or something,
right,
it will track each one, I guess, to make sure that we're on
absolutely.
the right. Okay,
That's
perfect.
right. The difference between this date is when you have the listing added into Amazon. That's where it is. And then, so we do recommend people to just review their mins and max prices, especially the min price. The whole point is you want to make some more money, like on the side. That's why you're in this business. Yeah. And then the inventory age, that is here, inventory age conditions, and that's going to be based on when you sent in the shipment, and Amazon will give us that.
Cool.
That number of days.
The last question too, let's say you've got something that you have done multiple replenishments of, and one of those replenishments has been in over 60 days. And so you've got a conditional repricer that kicks it into the 60-day repricing strategy. But once those units sell out, will it automatically put it back to a typical repricing strategy? Or is that another condition you'd set up to do that?
So let's say when inventory age is greater than 60 days for training purpose, we'll just sell it at break even, at 0%. Then it's going to check by chronological order. And so you can set another when condition. So this is greater than 60 days. I can go in here for the rest of my inventory. Maybe it's less than 60 days. I can set it to a different rule.
Okay.
Yeah, or a different price. So the system is going to first, like the ASIN is going to check for the inventory that are over 60 days, then it's going to put it to that. Say you are less than that, then it will switch to this rule. And then you can put it a default one when none of the above conditions are met. Well, usually, this is, well, if it's less than over, then it's going to meet one of those conditions. But let's assume you only had this, like when inventory is greater than 60 days, you set it to something. And for anything else that's lower than 60 days, you can set it to a different rule.
Okay, so technically we wouldn't need the second condition.
Maybe you want to have it when it's greater than 30 days. You want to set it to something different. Yeah, and then for everything else, you can set it at like a profit booster, or maybe you pick one of the match buy box price, like rule base. Yeah, so yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't have any other questions then. This is there's a lot of cool features that you have implemented. It's obvious that you talked to sellers and setting it up. So that's what's really exciting for me. And I think I know it'll help a lot of people, because I've seen so many different, I guess, testimonials for BQool from big sellers and small ones too. Some of the newer sellers that have used it. So, well, Samuel, thank you so much for the time. It's been awesome. I can definitely see all the different features that you've put in here, and see the fact that you've worked with a lot of different sellers to build these features in, because it definitely takes a seller's mindset to be able to come up with some of these different conditions and things that you've done. So I really appreciate it. Excited for how it'll help new sellers and experienced sellers alike. I also want to say thank you. I know that you and BQool have put together a special offer for my audience, for the people that I coach and train, and it'll be at a specific link. So it's actually a bit.ly link. I use that for everything that I do. It's at bit.ly/replens with an S. BQool. The link will be in the description. But Samuel, can you please let everybody know kind of what that special deal is? I'm really excited for it.
We really appreciate your time to go through an overview of our repricer, and also telling us, your real world scenarios. So if you use Jimmy's link, we're offering a 30-day extended free trial. And usually this is $100 per month, but you get to try it out for free for 30 days. And you don't even need your credit card. So it's super easy, and test it out yourself and see if it's worth the investment. We believe it is. We look forward for you to join BQool, and also make sure to use our onboarding webinar as well to get the best experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm pretty sure too, with that trial, it comes with the AI listings as well, right?
Yes. It gives you 1,000 AI and also conditional repricing listings. A lot of sellers, they have between 200 to 800 listings, and yeah, it's going to be working for you.
Perfect. And I know I didn't have a question earlier on the pricing, but with those listings specifically, is that active only, or is that in total all the listings that you might have in Seller Central? Do you know the answer to that?
It's active. Yeah, it's
Active.
active
Okay.
listing. So it's the listings that you have set the repricer on.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't know if it was like, if I've got 4,000 listings and 3,000 of them are out of stock, then is it repriced? I guess the pricing's based off the 1,000 then that are left over.
In that specific scenario, in the general settings, you would put for out of stock, then you would pause repricing. You could set that up beforehand. Yeah, this way
Perfect.
It would stop you from getting charged. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. No, that's good to know. I just wanted to make sure because I've got sellers and stuff that also do print on demand and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that we've got that. I should have asked it earlier whenever you had the pricing.
No worries.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. You're a ton of knowledge. I'm sure that I'll get a bunch of questions too. And if anybody on your side has questions on replens, I'm happy to get back on and discuss anything with you. And I'll bring you back on if I've got questions from a BQool standpoint where we can go a little bit deeper. So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Samuel.
Absolutely, Jimmy. And for our audience, for the BQool audience, make sure to follow Jimmy Smith on his YouTube channel. And of course, also, take a look at his courses that he offers, including the proven Amazon courses. And for the people who make comments, who are action takers, right? Who comment on the video, we might give out a number of free books from his newest book, which is The Side Hustle to Full-Time Income. And this is one of the best sellers on Amazon. And we might give out a number of digital copies of this for the people who comment on this video. We look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, for anybody, since you mentioned my YouTube channel or my website, it's at Ask Jimmy Smith. So that's my handle on YouTube. And my website is at askjimmysmith.com. So pretty easy. We've had over 1,000 success stories come from that. So the free ebook right now is being sold at $24.99. So we'll make sure to get a bunch of copies over to you. I'm excited for that.
Thank you, Jimmy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.